I love this nigga right here.
Nigga, when I tell you, when I watch Scarface, I ain't gonna lie, bro. When I watch Scarface, nigga, I'm like, what the fuck? At first, I was like, all right, this movie gonna be trash. I could barely understand them. Them niggas was speaking Spanish and shit. I don't speak no damn Spanish. Nigga, look at me. You know what I'm saying? I could pass for a Dominican nigga if I was dark enough. I don't speak no Spanish. At first, I didn't. I had to have the subtitles on. They was like, you know what I'm saying? All that. You know how they be talking? I'm like, what type of movie am I about to watch here? Bro. Halfway into the movie, I'm like, all right, this is now my top 5. This is my top 5, bro. This movie was inspirational to me. I'm not gonna cap. I don't even know why. It was just inspirational to me. Right now, bro. That's my top 5. I'm not gonna cap. That's my top 5. I'm going not in order. Django, Scarface, I Am Legend. Hold on. Infinity War. I can't give you the 5th one. It's not possible. I lucky want to say Civil War over Infinity War, but I might even put Civil War in my top 5. I don't know. It's a lot of. I did see Pulp Fiction was good. Pulp Fiction not top 5. Not my top 5. American Psycho was good. American Psycho not top 5. Not in my top 5. Analyzing Evil, Tony Montana from Scarface.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the 39th episode of Analyzing Evil, featuring Tony Montana from Scarface. Tony Montana is a favorite among people the world over.
You talking about the Magnificent Seven? No.
Tenacious and ferocious. A man who, with some connections and his own sheer force of will, went from a refugee escaping an impoverished and repressive nation to a man living his own American dream as an absurdly wealthy drug kingpin. As with other criminals I'll be covering on this channel, it's important that we first talk about the criminal game before we continue to make things clear.
Yo, and why is everybody doing cocaine? It's like, am I missing out on something, bro? These niggas in this bitch. It's just like, why do rich niggas do is that the rich man's drug? Cocaine?
Characters like Tony Montana are lionized for their personalities and how they're able to make themselves into something great from nothing. But it's still important to recognize that the way in which
Tarantino might be my favorite director of all time.
Is terrible. As with the previous video on Walter, I'm not here to comment on the legality or morality of using drugs. But as it stands in this film, the trade Tony is in is one of brutality, death, and despair. And though the vast majority of people who are affected by his actions are other criminals playing the same game as him, that doesn't make the proliferation of murder and pain any more pleasant. Nor does it excuse the fact that his actions cause horrible repercussions for no—
Oh my God. Pour one out for my nigga. That nigga shot his mans because he was fucking his sister. Bro, that nigga, I ain't gonna lie, I knew that nigga was cooked, bro. That nigga lost it, bro. He had an anger problem, bro. When he shot his mans, nigga, I was folding clothes. Mid-fold, I dropped the shirt. Bro, I ain't gonna lie, I was cursed.
Not only the people participating,
I was cursed,
but those around him who are not involved.
I was cursed.
And though his characteristics may be admirable, his actions certainly aren't. With that out of the way, in this video, we'll be going through just what exactly makes Tony such a brutal and mesmerizing—
I'm not a fucking Cuban!
One who cemented himself as a cultural icon and as one of the most memorable characters in cinematic history. Without
I want
further
one
ado,
of those now.
Let's begin. We don't know much about who Tony was before coming to America, but what we do know about the man and his origin is enough to give us a bit of insight
and then
into
at the
how
beginning,
he may have developed into the man.
At the beginning of the movie, they was talking about what's that guy's name? Fidel Castro. That's the nigga name. Fidel Castro. I remember this dude. I'm not gonna lie. They was talking about him in this movie. I really didn't know what his connection had to do with it. I guess because it was talking about. Oh no. At the time, I think it was like, talking about how like he had like damn near flipped the world, and there was a lot of tension between the Cubans and Americans because he was like basically like on their ass. You know, America really fucked. But he was like exposing them niggas and shit like that.
And we see in the film. Born in Cuba, in what I assume was a few years before the Castro regime took over the country in 1959, Tony Montana grew up in a world of poverty, repression, and control. One that helped in shaping Tony into the defiant and fearless individual we see in the film. If it's true that Tony's father was from the United States, it would make sense that Tony grew up watching films with his father that glorified life in America and the criminals that inhabited its underworld, perhaps watching films like the original Scarface or The Public Enemy, if indeed he grew up watching James Cagney, as he claims. Whether or not that's the case, Tony was tantalized by a life of crime, and we know that Tony served time in prison while living in Cuba, during which time he became allied with various gangs, eventually acquiring the tattoo on his hand to indicate his status as an assassin. Where his father may have been a catalyst for Tony's dreams of becoming a gangster and living in the United States, his mother was quite the opposite, as she seems to be a very traditional woman, who we can assume attempted to keep her son out of trouble, trying to cage the ferocious young man as best she could. Something else that is integral to understanding Tony Montana's formative years is the fact that he's of a smaller stature compared to many of the men we see him coming into contact with in this film.
I think that's why I liked him even more.
I imagine his...
Because niggas was like, because he was stupid. He was a dumbass nigga. This nigga didn't know how to talk that good. He had no education. But when that nigga rose to the top, oh my God, that shit was so... Ah! That shit was so cold.
With bravado of big one he was at home and us that he was the celebration with in this film. And owing to this, I imagine his tendency to be highly confrontational and overtly macho developed in part to compensate for his size, his fiery demeanor, and fearlessness in the face of adversity, stemming from his time defending himself as a small fry. Where Tony actually got the scar on his face is anybody's guess, but considering the fact of his size and the trouble it likely caused him on the streets of Cuba, his claim that he acquired it as a kid may not be too far off from the truth. Now, what do all of these things tell us about Tony Montana? They tell us that he was a child who felt the overbearing reach of expected obedience and repression, and not just from the brutal government of Fidel.
They was doing that money laundering shit, bro. That shit is real. Niggas don't understand, bro. That's how it get down, bro. These companies, y'all want to be dirty and shit. All you got to do is pay the right people and continue paying your taxes. You will never go to jail. Trust me.
El Castro, but from his traditionalist mother at home as well.
But them niggas got greedy. They got sloppy. That's where they fucked up. If I lived that life, I would never get sloppy. I would never get... First of all, I would die because, you know, you live by the gun, you die by the gun. That's just what it is. It ain't a nigga that made it out with this crime shit. The only one, maybe D.B. Cooper when he jumped out that fucking plane. But besides him, every nigga got to work. No matter if it came now or 12, 20 years later. You live that crime life, you going, bro, it's going to catch up to you every time. Just look at my nigga Trey. Free him. You know what I'm saying?
Better than the one he was living, Tony Montana became a rebellious youth who dreamt of bigger and better things. So, he took to the streets with bravado and charisma, making friends and enemies alike before landing himself in prison, which, in a way, was his ticket to the life he dreamed of living. And that's where we find Tony at the beginning of this story, a man who's been shipped off to the land of opportunity as an undesirable with his best friend, a fate that's markedly improved from languishing in a Cuban jail. Obviously, this is all just speculation, but with these things in mind, it's easy to see how Tony developed into the man he is. Courageous and charismatic, with a dogged fearlessness and ferocity, Tony, from the very first scene of the film, shows us that he's a man who takes lip from nobody, a man who won't back down in the face of adversity, no matter the odds that are stacked against him. There's something bigger in Tony's psyche that fuels these courageous traits.
I'm gonna talk about that girl in a minute.
Narcissism. Tony, in everything he does, believes himself to be the best, that he's the man, one that anybody would be stupid to even think about messing with. And it's this belief in himself that makes Tony able to stand in front of a gun as if he were bulletproof. A man who's nigh invincible in the face of his foes. In this way, you could say he's a rather principled character. A man who sticks by his assurance that the only things he has in this world are his balls and his word, and he doesn't break them for anybody. But those aren't the only principles that Tony sticks by, as he really is a loyal person as he claimed to be to Frank. And though he's brutal and remorseless when it comes to dealing with his enemies, he doesn't sink to the point where he resorts to killing innocents, which is a quality that some characters of questionable moral integrity.
When that bitch put out that shotgun, I was like, damn, they lying that nigga, bro. That nigga got lying first mission.
Integrity notably lack. His ambitions are certainly enormous,
it wasn't a line,
and he did attempt to accelerate his own trajectory by orchestrating a deal that Frank hadn't yet approved of. But he did so with Frank in mind, and he wasn't making this deal in an attempt to usurp Frank, but to bolster Frank's and his own standing in their business. His ambition isn't necessarily a bad thing, but his method of achieving his dreams is certainly misguided. And along with his narcissism, this makes for a highly detrimental mindset that sets Tony on a course towards self-destruction.
That's my nigga right there. That's my favorite character.
Even his overprotectiveness regarding his sister comes from a good place, even if it is extreme, as the reason he's so heavy-handed with the people she sees is because they're criminals like him, and he wants her to have a better life than what he knows they can provide for her. This is perhaps the only
that was one of my favorite scenes when he smacked that bitch. She said, I gotta pull it up. That was the one time I was like, yeah, she deserved that. She said some crazy ass shit. I ain't gonna lie. If I had a sister who was talking like that, I would have smacked that smut too. I would have smacked that bitch too. I'm not gonna lie.
How do you know?
She was getting drunk and shit, dancing with niggas. She was like 19 at this time, maybe 20. Went into the gentleman's bathroom. That nigga taking her in the back. He trying to get some sucky. You can't let your sister go out like no whore. And the bitch, why everybody was doing coke. I think I'm finna start my journey. I would have pistol whipped that nigga. I ain't gonna lie.
What do you think? It's cute? No? Last time I put his hand all over your ass, my kid sister in the toilet. None of my business. The fuck it ain't. Come on.
You can't tell me what to do.
Telling you what to do. Listen to me. Come here. I catch you here again. Did you hear me? I catch you here again. I'm gonna wipe you all over this fucking place.
Yeah, go ahead. Do it now. I wanna see it. I wanna see it now, bitch.
Don't push me, baby.
No, I wanna see it now.
Get the fuck out of here. Come on.
You got some nerve, Tony. You think you can come in here now and tell me what to do?
Get out of here.
You can't tell me what to do, Tony. No more. I am not a baby anymore. I'll do what I want to do. I'll see whoever I want to see. And if I want to fuck him, Tony, then I'll fuck him.
Smack that bitch. Run it back for all the real niggas on a Tuesday. On a Thursday. She was wildin', bro. Facts, bro. If I ever had a sister, she said, little sister said some shit like that, I would smack that bitch too.
Thing Tony took from
That's the smutting, bro. That's how bitches starting these OFs and shit, bro. These hoes ain't getting their ass whooped, bro. You feel me?
Mother.
You gotta start it off from the source.
And their involvement in his family. However, we don't know to what extent his mother had a hand in Tony's upbringing and his
The ending was
crime,
crazy, though.
But whatever the case may be,
I think it wasn't to the ending where he realized that he fucked up.
She recognizes now the harm her son can bring to those around him, and if she can help it, she'll do anything to keep the same poison from affecting her daughter. This is Tony's mindset when it comes to other men, as he believes that he's capable of providing for this family without them having to get involved. But he knows that if his sister were to date or marry someone in his business, she would have no choice but to become involved herself to some capacity. The positive traits in Tony that I've highlighted are what make him an admirable and identifiable character to watch. As though he's without a doubt a vicious criminal, he does have a set of values that softens his character and makes him much more relatable than others. This is who Tony is, a charismatic, overly macho narcissist with big dreams and an attitude that could but it's not who
shit! I just connected the dots. He killed Tony Montana at the end. This is the nigga, I did not see him right there. Bro, the nigga that had the shotgun at the end with the shades was walking up all smooth. Mr. Blasting nigga don't say nothing. He don't even talk. He just walk up on niggas and blast them. He blasted another nigga downstairs. I did not see him.
Who Tony is, but what he does that makes him a rather despicable human being. And his story is an example
I knew it was GG's. What he put it to the house.
Result most people get from being involved in a highly volatile and extremely dangerous business, a lengthy prison sentence, or death. Now the thing about the majority of his actions is that they fall under the category of being atrocities committed against people who are actively engaged in the same lifestyle as he is, and therefore, in a sense, could be seen as more forgivable, like his murder of the men who attempted to kill him during his first drug deal, or when he murdered Frank and Mel, as when Tony engages in these criminal activities, the people he's harming are far from innocent.
I'm glad he killed that punk ass nigga. I hated that nigga. That nigga was a bitch. He wasn't cut out for this job. No, to be honest, he would have been one of them niggas that make it out because that nigga's ratting. That nigga's ratting. He's all first D1 team snitch on the nigga. I could already tell when the nigga pulled the gun out, he begging and shit. I'm like, okay. Even before that, though, I knew he was a little soft. And then this nigga, he was a police officer. Oh, look. When he pulled up, the officer, wait, is he going to show that nigga? I don't think it is. Wait, it might show it. I ain't gonna talk about
themselves, and he does so in self-defense rather than out of malice or hatred.
Then they killed his man,
that
bro.
One of the murders he commits is noble, as he murders Alberto after he refuses to call off the assassination.
Yeah, bro. This is what fucked him from this point on, bro. At this point, this is when I knew he was too deep in and he could not handle it. Now, if I was in Scarface's position, I'm sorry, I would have blew that bomb. I'm not gonna lie, gang. But he don't kill. He ain't gonna lie. He was standing on his word. He don't kill women and children. He don't kill women and children. The nigga was supposed to. This was like a councilman who was gonna crack down on like the cocaine crime and whatever them niggas was. You know them niggas. This back in the day. They was finna kill him. They put up to New York. They put a bomb under his car, but they thought the kid and the wife had went in another car, and he was gonna drive to the place himself, but he spunt around, picked up the kid and the wife, and this guy with the bomb.
Of the Bolivian journalist.
He an assassin. He had the bomb, but it had to be in range. And then Tony Montana, he was like, "Fuck that, I'm not having it." Wait, is he gonna show it? He ain't want to kill him. No, fuck it, I'm pulling it up. Words can't describe. Oh, yeah. Just skip. It's a little long. Okay, look. This is what I meant. He's supposed to leave, right? But he pulled back around, and then he went to pick. It's already the bomb is already placed. He went to pick. Oh, I ain't even. It was 2 kids, bro. But look, the dude, Scarface, Tony Montana, he did want to have kids and shit though. He seen the kids playing in the fucking window, bro. The bomb is under their car. The dude on the right, he was what race was he? I forgot, but he ain't give a fuck. He was blowing that bitch. This is an OG bomb. If it was me, I just would have sniped the nigga. He be getting heated, bro. He got like a temper.
This is so fucking bad.
10 meters.
Shut the fuck up, okay?
Yeah, he mad because he don't kill women and children.
You don't have the guts to look him in the eye when you kill him. You gotta hide with that fucking Get it out. Come on, let's do it. Make you feel good, huh? Make you feel good to kill a mother and a kiss, huh? Make you feel big. Like you big man. Well, fuck you. What do you think I am? You think I killed 2 kids and a woman? Fuck that. I don't need that shit in my life. You die, motherfucker!
Smoke that nigga. Smoke that nigga. All because I ain't gonna lie, low key, he wasn't cut out for this business. Like, he had some parts, but then a lot of shit he was missing.
Speaking out against their organization, an act that saves this man and his family. Even so, these actions cause an untold amount of collateral damage to innocents who are adjacent to this business, and actions that are taken against Tony due to his involvement in this business play into this as well. A great example of this, and an example of the effects of criminal activity on innocents, is the assassination attempt made against Tony at the Babylon Club. Of course, Tony didn't ask to be assassinated, but the fact that he put himself in a position to be assassinated by being involved in the illegal drug trade caused the death of an innocent bystander, the performer playing Octavio. But you may be saying,
that was a rat.
How could he have known that would happen? That doesn't matter. What matters is that had Tony Montana decided to come to America and work a job like his mother, or start a restaurant like his former employer, this would never have occurred, and something similar would be almost impossible to occur if he had gone through legitimate channels. You might argue that an immigrant who comes from nothing has only a small chance of attaining greatness in this world without the help of illegitimate sources. But this is decidedly not the case, and you can find a variety of successful people who came to the United States with nothing but the clothes on their back, and then made it to the heights of success. And had Tony put his mind to it, a man like him could have likely been successful in almost any endeavor he chose to pursue. Now earlier, I did say the majority of his actions could be attributed to this criminal lifestyle, and are thus more forgivable in a way. But I did say the majority, not all of them, as there is one act in particular that seals Tony's fate, an act that we all reviled, the murder of his friend and brother, Manny.
Yeah. A moment of silence for my nigga Manny. Man, and to be honest, bro, it was a little slimy. I feel like you definitely, like, if I had a sister and the homie wanted to talk to her on some real shit, like, not just dogging a bitch out. You know what I'm saying? Don't dog my sister out, nigga. But if the nigga, like, I think Manny was like, he wanted, ain't gonna lie, look, at the beginning, he was a horny nigga. But then he ended up running real love, and then the way he looked at his sister was just like someone that he could see love with. But he didn't go through Tony Montana. He didn't talk to Tony. He just pulled up, and she just got the dick down.
In the second
he already told her stay away. And when they was dealing with each other, he never said nothing.
half of the movie, we're privy to all the little factors that play a part in Tony's reaction to this event. Factors that all play into his slow but assured downfall. Tony, after an initial honeymoon period, has now settled into his life as a rich man, and he's settled in rather uncomfortably. He may have the money and the power and the woman, but he's now stuck with paranoia, a drug addiction, and an unhappy.
Bro, that nigga was doing a lot of coke. This is the coke box, if you don't know. There's nothing but coke in there.
Childless.
And there's not a lot, but there's a good amount.
Marriage, constantly watching out.
Like, the way they do coke is like, you know what I'm saying, a nigga smoking cigarettes.
For his safety and dealing with Elvira's attitude. After being set up in part due to Manny's error in judgment, and being pigeonholed into doing Sosa's dirty work in order to save himself from a 3-year prison sentence, Tony comes to realize how thoroughly unhappy he is being at the top. Before, he had excitement and goals to look forward to, but now he has routine and emptiness, a life where he lives each day the same with nothing to look forward to. This is what brings him to his state of despair during the restaurant scene, where his wife effectively leaves him, and after having to deal with Alberto and his willingness to murder a man's family, Tony becomes distraught.
So look at the restaurant. I'm gonna bust it down for you. Pause. At the restaurant, he was like slouched like this. Like, he was drunk, but he was like, you know, when that alcohol get in his system, he started speaking his truth. He looking at his girl. He like, even before that, he was talking to his homie. He was like, this the life we live. We getting sloppy. How long are we going to do this for? Then when he gets to the restaurant, he goes, look at this bitch. He didn't say that, but I'm saying it. Look at this bitch. She was a coke addict. Her fucking stomach was probably fucked up. Her liver was probably fucked up. I can't even have kids with this hoe. But initially, when he wanted to marry her and make her the mother of his children. That's one of the things he said to her before he stole her away from that nigga. It was like, I want you to have my kid, be the mother of my kids. This was probably like years ago, like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe, I don't know. It was time skips. So I want you to be the mother of my kids, this and that. Think about it. That's what he said. You know, obviously he can't talk that good. Think about it. Mother of my kids, right? But then, when he went to that dinner table, he was like, everything started just like popping out for him. Like he just started realizing everything off the alcohol. He was like, look at this bitch. Her liver probably destroyed. She's a fucking drug addict. Fuck her. Then she was like, nigga, you know better. Nigga, you a motherfucking, what if we did have kids? You probably gonna die before the fucking baby come out. Or you probably gonna, how long are you gonna be a father before you get gunned down or sent to jail? And then they was just like, fuck this shit. She was done with him. Cause it was damn near the same thing. Frank was her old nigga. The nigga he used to work for that he killed. And cause he became the big dog. But he killed cause Frank tried to set him up. Frank tried to get him hit. She was like, it was damn near just the same thing as Frank. Like, it was all good at the beginning. But then, you know, a year in, shit started getting real. And you see the real off this nigga. Oh, y'all, they really wasn't compatible for real and shit.
With the prospects in front of him.
And then when he was talking about, like, because he came as an immigrant. And then when he went to the top, he was like, he low-key hate this shit. I was like, damn. Yeah, this that motherfucker movie.
Learns that Manny
I was like, this that
MIA
motherfucker right here.
Now. His fears grow exponentially, as disorganization in this dire time is something he cannot afford to suffer. He knows he's now the target of a conspiracy the likes of which he'd been paranoid about falling prey to all this time. And
that's
after,
when he started
of course,
crashing out.
Getting outrageously high, he's contemplating his next move when his mother calls to tell him Gina is missing. Thus ensues a mad dash to find his sister, whose life I'm sure he feared for at this time. Completely oblivious to the obvious connection here, Tony comes to find his sister.
She chose on that nigga though. It was like, I seen the way you look at
the top of his best friend's staircase. If this were any other time in Tony's life, perhaps he would have reacted differently.
That was mad disrespectful though. I ain't gonna lie, it's not enough to kill a nigga. Maybe whoop a nigga ass. Whoop a nigga ass for sure. Cause you didn't come through me. I'm the brother. You didn't come through me. You just went straight to dog, like hit in them guts on my sister. No way.
But
no,
with
we gotta
all the
fade.
recent tragic events that have happened to him in a matter of days, Manny's absence in his hour of need, and his fragile mental state due to his high, he sees nothing more than utter betrayal in front of him. His ascent was really the beginning of the end for Tony, as he was unequipped to handle that big of an influx in money and power, resulting in lavish overindulgence in all things, especially drugs,
The world is
that
yours.
all but spelled doom
You got that
for
tiger.
Tony. However, this murder was the final nail in the coffin. Perhaps if he hadn't killed Manny here, he could have helped Tony in organizing a proper defense against Sosa. Perhaps he could have hid out at Manny's house until the heat died down, and they were able to come up with an effective plan.
Hey, like this is after he killed him. He was like, "Oh, I fucked up. I just killed my man."
Number of things
he
could
didn't
have
say that, but his face showed it.
happened here had Tony not done what he did. But instead,
You can see he
goes
fucked
back
up
to his
right
home
now.
to wallow in an absurd amount of drugs. The horror of what he's done hitting him as his high ebbs and flows, with calamity edging closer and closer as his distraught sister comes to him with the intent to kill as his enemies swarm his compound. Not only did he lose Manny by doing what he did, but his sister as well, completely breaking her mentally and emotionally and driving her into that very room where she met her demise. In the end, Tony goes
Oh
up.
yeah, that's she had like a euphoric high. She was like, "You want to fuck me, Tony?" I swear to God, she said this to her own brother. It's like, "You don't want no other man to touch me." She definitely started showing off her titties and shit. Then she pulled out a gun and started shooting at that nigga before the assassins pulled up through the balcony. Lit that bitch up.
Out fighting as he always had, in a show of unbreakable courage, ultimately destroyed by everything he had become. And
Honestly,
at
I
this
feel like he
end,
wanted to die.
Who was Tony Montana? He was a man who came from nothing, one who spat in the face of repression and adversity, carving a place for himself in the world as a ferocious and steadfast man through sheer force of will.
You gotta grab
This
it by the
man,
balls.
who had everything in the world working against him, completely ignored the chains that tried to tie him down and made his dream a reality. Unfortunately, this dream was corrupted by the hard realities of the criminal life, and though his narcissism and his ego brought him far, his inability to handle a rapidly expanding lifestyle, along with the forces working against him, left him paranoid, insecure, and full of himself. His belief in his own power to make his life what he wanted it to be may have been what got him so far, but in the end, it ended up being his undoing, as a man who never fears the fall is blind to the cliff before him. Perhaps the world does need a bad guy, and there are certainly plenty hidden in plain sight who commit much worse crimes than Tony, but one bad guy does not cancel out the other.
Diddy or Tony Montana? To be honest, Tony Montana's definitely worse.
As the life we choose to live defines who we are, not the lives of others. Tony Montana had an admirable personality, charisma, and tenacity. A man who could have taken his talents,
hella charisma, hella pride, hella
he set his mind to
confidence.
be. But the life he chose was one of brutality, heartbreak, and despair, and his willingness to live and thrive in a world of crime and violence ultimately led to his undoing, leaving him destined to drown in his own evil. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode
Blew
of
his
Analyzing
fucking
Evil,
back out.
and I hope you've enjoyed. What are your thoughts on Tony? Did I miss anything? Let me know down below, and leave a suggestion for a villain you'd like to see featured in a future episode while you're at it. If you liked this video and want to see more like it appearing in your feed, click the subscribe button to keep up on the latest
Don't
episodes.
tell me what to do. He did tell the truth when he said bad people need a villain to make themselves feel better. Yeah, facts. He was like them people. Really, he was like them people is no good, no better than me. The niggas that do, sell drugs or not even sell drugs, like pharmacies and you know what I'm saying, like porn. They getting niggas hooked to porn and shit. Crazy to think that Al Capone didn't receive an award for his excellence in playing Tony Montana and Scarface. Hey, that's a Grammy performance if you ask me. That's why it's in my top 5.
Bye. Have a beautiful time.